Hey everyone, this is Kat and welcome back to the bookish side of me. And finally, we have another video. The last week has been a really roller coaster when it comes to different aspects of my life. Anyway, let's move on to this video because I'm very excited to share it all with you. Alright, so for this video, this is going to be my quarterly wrap up, and also I'm going to share with you my favorite books for the first quarter of 2021. And I thought of doing this instead of the monthly wrap-ups because that's not really realistic for me. So anyway, this is going to be the very first episode because this is the first quarter of this year, and in here I'm going to share with you my reading statistics for the first 3 months of 2021. So that consists of January, February, and March, and then I'm going to share my favorites. So without further ado, let's get this video started. Alright, so for the first 3 months of 2021, I've read a total of 33 books, and 18 of those are adult fiction, 2 are new adult, 5 are young adult, and 8 of those are middle grade books. And then when it comes to years published, 2 of those are new releases for this year, but the rest are backlist titles. Alright, so now in terms of the primary genre, it's a little bit scattered, but the majority of the books that I've read are contemporary, and then followed by fantasy, and then historical fiction, and then romance, and then a little bit of everything for the rest of the books. So it's pretty much interesting because I wasn't expecting that I'm going to read a lot of fantasy and romance in the first quarter of 2021. And surprisingly, I haven't read that much of thriller or mystery for the past few months. I'm gonna fix that in this quarter. Alright, so when it comes to the formats of these books, I've mostly read my physical copies, which I am so happy about. Majority of those are hardbacks, and then next are paperbacks, and then I've read a couple of ebooks and audiobooks, and then I have received 1 or 2 e-arcs. I definitely forgot about it. But yeah, so those are my statistics for the formats. Alright, so let's move on to how will I categorize these books according to my reading experience and how much I like them, and how I decided which ones are going to be my favorites of this quarter. So I've shared it before that I am no longer rating books, or at least this year I am not rating anything, but I've made this labels or tiers, you may call it, which I can categorize all the books that I have read. The first category is books that kind of disappointed me and probably not for me. I am not the right person to read it, or I am not the right audience for it. And then the second category is average feels. So these are the books that I feel average about. I don't have extreme emotions for them. I enjoyed reading them. I was okay, this is good, but it's not a favorite. Alright, so the third category is called liked it a lot. And these are the books that I really enjoyed reading. I loved it. I really liked it. But I don't think that it's gonna be a favorite of the year. It's almost there. It's almost a favorite. Almost. But it didn't make it. Alright, so this is gonna be the last category, which is the God tier in the tier ranking. This is called new favorites because these are the books that really took me by surprise. I am holding them dear in my heart. I feel like they're gonna be part of my top 10 or 20 favorite books of the year. I don't know. Or it's gonna be a favorite book of all time. So these books are just really so special to me. And these are the ones that I'm gonna discuss with you later. So anyway, those are all the categories that I have set for all the books that I've read. So every quarterly wrap-up is gonna be like this. Alright, so since I'm not gonna talk about all the books that I have read for this quarter, I thought of just putting them in their categories and showing them to you. So right now, I am sharing with you the book titles for each category on the screen. Alright, so for the first one, I have here a total of 6 books that kind of disappointed me, or these are the books that I feel not for me. Probably because of the hype surrounding these books for the last couple of years, and my standards just went super high, my expectations were super high. I really thought that I'm gonna love these books, but I didn't. These are books that are not objectively bad. I think that they are great and they have the right audience. It's just for me, it didn't work as much as I wanted it to. Those are the first category. The second category is average feels. I have here a total of 7 books. And as I've said earlier, these are the books that just feel lukewarm for me or average, like I don't have strong emotions about it. I also believe that these books have specific and right audience. This books didn't disappoint me, but it also didn't become a favorite book of the quarter. Alright, moving on to the third category. These are the books that I really liked a lot but didn't make it to my favorites of this quarter. So I have here a total of 13 books. This is the most number of categories, and these are the books that almost became favorites, but it didn't. I truly learned so much from a lot of these books. I enjoyed them. I still recommend any book from this list because they are just really amazing. They're amazing. Alright, so now we are going to move on to my favorite books of the quarter, which I am so excited to share with you. And I have here a total of 7 books. Let's go to the first book that really caught my heart and took me by surprise when I read it in January. And I think this is my first favorite book of the year or favorite book of the quarter. And this is Still Life with Tornado by A.S. King. Alright, so I've made a reading vlog while reading this book because this is one of Gerald's favorite books of 2020. So if you haven't checked that out yet, it's gonna be down there and on your screen right now. So anyway, this book is a YA contemporary fiction with magical realism. It follows the story of Sarah, who is a 16-year-old girl who suddenly wake up one day and doesn't want to go to school anymore. She doesn't want to do things that everybody does. She wants to be unique and she wants to express herself through art. So she's having this identity crisis at the age of 16, and while she was cutting classes every day, she went to different places, and while doing so, she will meet 3 versions of herself. The 10-year-old Sarah, the 23-year-old Sarah, and the 40-year-old Sarah. And by meeting these different versions of her, she will begin to unravel and uncover her issues during this time. And this book is just a masterpiece. This is my very first A.S. King book, and I am just really so happy about it. I loved it so much. Oh my god. I really love the writing style. I love how all the dynamics went into this book. I think that it's just well done. It was well written. I really love the characters in here, the dynamics, the elements, the magical realism. It's weird, but it's my kind of weird. You know what I'm saying? I just really love it. I can't gush about this enough. I love this book a lot. By the way, before I forgot, there's trigger and content warnings for this book. There are some sensitive topics that were mentioned and discussed. So if you want to know more about it, go ahead and check it out on the description box. Alright, second book on this list. Oh my goodness. So this book I've read in February, also for a reading vlog wherein I've read 3 books by Black authors, which I also enjoyed so much. And if you haven't checked that out, again, it's linked down below and on the screen. And this book, I already know that I will like it, but I wasn't expecting that I will love it this much. Like, the intensity of my love for this book is just too much to handle. This book is a non-fiction, which also surprised me, and this is stamped Racism, Antiracism, and You by Jason Reynolds and Ibram X. Kendi. As I have mentioned, this is a non-fiction. It was like a history of how deep-seated the Black racism and African slavery in the US and other predominantly white countries. This book just made me grab my highlighter and I just colored these pages and I enjoyed my time so much. I love this book. I don't know how to explain it to you. Alright, so I'm just gonna get organized in here. Things that I really loved about this book: writing style, chef's kiss. I've read it physically and also I listened to the audiobook, so it's highly recommended. And I've learned so much from this book. I kept on saying this in my reading vlog, but I just really hope that Jason Reynolds or Ibram X. Kendi would have written any history books during my high school or college years, because I think life would be so much easier, because this book is just amazing. I highly recommend it to anyone who'd like to learn more or educate yourselves with whatever is happening in the US with Black racism and, again, African slavery. So yeah, Please read this book. Alright, so third book in this list. This one also kind of took me by surprise because I wasn't expecting that I will love this book this much. I know that it's hype and I know a lot of people who really, really love this book. So I expected I would like it, but I didn't think that it's gonna be one of my favorites of this quarter. And this book is just so precious to me. This book is Cemetery Boys by Aiden Thomas. Oh my god. This book is everything that I want in a YA romance. I am not even kidding. I love this book a lot. So anyway, this book is a YA fantasy. It follows the story of Yadriel from a Latinx family, and they were like called brujos and brujas because they have this magic that is like connected to the souls of the dead. And then Yadriel, who is the protagonist in the story, he is a transgender and he would like to prove himself that he is a real brujo, and his family is not really that accepting of his gender. And then one day his cousin died, and again, to prove himself, he tried to summon his spirit, but then he made a mistake because he summoned the spirit of another person, and that is Julian, who's gonna be his love interest in the story, which makes me so kilig. I can't take it. I'm so in love with this romance. Anyway, so basically that's the premise of the whole story. The things that I really loved about this, first, the romance. It's chef's kiss. It's on point, 10 out of 10. I really love the dynamics between these two characters. I really love the characters themselves. Like, the representation of Yadriel in the story is just so important. I also like the plot structure, how the story went, how it began, and how it was concluded. I highly recommend this book to anyone, to everyone. Like, literally, read this book. Please. So, next book on my list. This book is another non-fiction that I've read, I think in February. This is like a 5-star prediction for me. And this is Educated by Tara Westover. Alright, so this one, I also read it for a buddy reading discussion, which I also enjoyed a lot. I really appreciated all the thoughts and opinions from my fellow readers, and I think that's what I love the most about buddy reading, because you will get, a lot of perspectives, and with that, I truly appreciated this book a lot more. So anyway, Educated is a memoir by the author herself, Tara Westover. This is her story from childhood up until her adult life. So in here, she's trying to narrate what happened in their family throughout the years, why they are very unconventional and isolated. They don't believe in schooling, they don't believe in medical and the government, etc. First off, I just would like to say that at first I thought that this is just gonna be about a girl who's going to strive hard and get education, but then it became deeper. This book talks about different kinds of abuse: emotional, physical, mental, domestic abuse. So there are a lot of content and trigger warnings about this one, so I hope that you could check that out before reading this book. So anyway, what I really loved about this book is how it made me think so much. Like, I kept on thinking about this book. I felt so much emotions. I felt anger, sadness, disappointment. I felt like so many negative emotions for Tara. So this book just really made me think a lot and made me feel so much emotions that I would never ever forget. I'm just gonna treasure this one. It really taught me so much. I realized so much, and I also owe it to the people I buddy read this with, because I've just learned so much, and I love it when I'm learning. So anyway, I recommend this to people who are comfortable in reading about the stories of different kinds of abuse. So yeah. The next book that I'm gonna show you is another book that I already know that I will love, because the first 2 books that I've read from this author are 2 of my favorite books of all time, and I already knew it. So this book is Concrete Rose by Angie Thomas. Do I need to say anything else? Do I need to explain myself? So Angie Thomas is definitely one of my favorite authors of all time, and The Hate You Give and On the Come Up are 2 of my favorite books of all time. I love her writing style so much. When it comes to like YA fiction, YA contemporary, Angie Thomas really tops my list, because I just love the atmosphere that she creates. I love her storylines, I love her characters, and most importantly, I love all the messages of her books. So this one, if you're not familiar with this yet, this is the prequel of the story of The Hate You Give. This follows the story of Star Carter's father, who is Maverick, and this is when Maverick found out that he's gonna be a young dad. So there will be a lot of conflicts because one, he's still 17 during this time. He's still going to school and he has to go to work. He has to find a decent job and he also has to take care of his child. So it was really a tough time. It was a very conflicting time. So I really, really appreciate how this book was written. I think this book will help young adults to be enlightened and to make them realize that it's not really easy to have a child when you are not stable, when you are not ready. So this book for me is a very, very important message. And the reason why this is one of my favorites of this quarter is because of how amazing Angie Thomas is. Like, she never disappoints. It was amazing. The experience I had with this book is amazing. Also, the audiobook, recommended. I loved it. Alright, so the last two books on this list, I'm just gonna show them to you together because they are part of the series. So the first book is The Puppy War by RF Kuang, and then the second book is The Dragon Republic by RF Kuang. So these two are my favorites of this quarter as well, but I'm not gonna discuss this book because I've done it a million times in this channel, and this is a reread. I've reread it just because I want to in March, so I still enjoy this book. I still loved it. It's still one of my favorite books of all time. And then I went into this book immediately. And this also became one of my favorite books of this quarter. And I feel like it's gonna be my favorite book of the year. So in case you don't know what the story or the series is all about, it started when the protagonist of the story named Rin, who is a war orphan of the empire named Nikara, has to take an entrance exam to get into this very prestigious military school in Sinigard. So, of course, she will get in, and that's where the story will progress. So, obviously, I really, really, really love the first book. It is my favorite book of 2020. And when I read this book in March, it was fantastic. It was amazing. I felt so much for the characters. I still love the characters of this book. And I think the Dragon Republic in particular really questioned me with a lot of things. It made me think. It made me sit down and process a lot of happenings. And I really took my time and reflect on a lot of events in this book, a lot of character representation, because I think that's very important. And I just loved how RF Kuang did all these commentaries without compromising the structure, the story, and the characters themselves. Oh my god, oh my goodness. This book is God tier. I love this so much. All I want to say is I refused to eat dumplings for like a couple of days after reading this book because it was just really gross. It was cruel. It was disturbing and unsettling, and I don't want to deal with it. And then one last thing about this book, I loved Ketai in this one. In the first book, I loved him, but I don't have like very strong emotions for him. But in this one, Ketai is the one. He's my favorite character of the series now. He just became my favorite character. I don't know how to explain that to you, but yeah. Alright, so these are all my favorite books of the first quarter of 2021, and I love these books with all my heart, like every one of them. I treasure them, and I'm just really so thankful because I was able to read these books and it made me think and learn a lot in the first quarter of 2021. So yeah, that's it for this quarterly wrap up. I hope that you enjoy or you prefer like this setup because this is gonna be like a staple on my channel for this year. So anyway, if you reached this part, can you please tell me what is your favorite book for the first quarter of 2021? What's one book that really stood out for you in the first 3 months of this year? I'm going to wait for that on the comment section below, so make sure that you comment. Alright? So yeah, that's it everyone for this video. Thank you so much for watching. I hope that you are safe, you are healthy, you are happy wherever you are. And just remember, the world is yours for the reading. Bye! And see you on the next one.